Hey everyone, Rio here. If you are new to the channel, I extend my warmest welcome. Today's video is a little bit different from the usual style, but I figured recording a voice explanation is more suited for a longer run like this. Today, I'll be presenting a Zero title MD4 Raffine team that hopefully will be easy for you to assemble. If you are wondering how to beat this dungeon without cards like New Year's Reach, Dark Athena, Melty, Fegoran, or Geed, you've come to the right place. There are some strange cards on the team, but I assure you each one has its special role. This team was formed after a long trial and error process, and you might have heard me say this before, but each unit fought hard to earn its spot. In case I forget to cover specific skill orders or strategies, please reference my floor guide, which I've included in the description. Also, if you were here early on, you might notice that there are some changes to the original team that I posted. After becoming more comfortable with the dungeon, I've made some optimizations that I think you'll appreciate. First thing you might notice is that there's no latent on the friend Raffine. When I was running the dungeon myself, I noticed how hard it was to find friends with a specific setup of VDP latent and homage, and I have close to 400 friends. And this is natural because most of the people attempting the dungeon with Raffine are going to be running the very needed leader slot resistance. So I decided to make a run where I can attempt to run without the VDP latent or anything specific, to be honest, and I was able to get the clear pretty consistently. Secondly, you'll notice that there are god killers that are on Aten and Nohime instead of the original devil killers, and this was because in my original team I had devil killers and I thought they were needed for the dungeon, but turns out I think they were mostly for the ogre floor, which might be harder to get through with only 3 turns of delay when I originally ran Melty, and that's why there's devil killers on those two. So I decided to bring god killers, and this really helped finalize the consistency for some of the god floors, such as floor 6 and floor 8. Finally, you'll see that I've used Susano instead of the Phaedra equip in this run, and that was just simply to test how much better Susano was over Phaedra. Obviously, the first thing it does is fulfill the 100% blind requirement, and it also gives Aten more damage to be able to one-shot floors such as floor 6 and floor 8. And the only downside I would say from making this change would be a specific interaction against Aten, where normally we would try to use the Phaedra to recharge our Raffine in case there's no rainbow on the board, but because Susano only charges 1 turn, Raffine won't be up, and this literally just needs some board management on the turn before, or you could pop another active to recharge Raffine in case there's no rainbow, and just do a little bit stalling in the later floors. So now let's talk about some of the team's units. We'll start with the most interesting one, which is the Droid Dragon. I'm really proud of this unit because I was originally running with another team that used Ranave and Yang Guifei, and I just simply could not get enough utility across those two and damage to be able to beat the dungeon. And there's also the really hard clause, which is the typing clause, to be able to build a team to even enter the dungeon. So I was thinking about it, and I noticed that Fegoran is really nice because he brings I think 2 extra typings, which is Dragon and Healer, which is really nice when trying to build your team. And so I already had Horus on the team originally, who is on the team because of his healer attribute as well as pretty good damage and a short cooldown. So I was looking through PadDB to try to find a unit that could have high utility and fulfill typings, and also an added bonus is that he's a grass attribute, so I wouldn't have to run something like Ranave or Yang Guifei to cover that. And you might think, oh, why are we running this unevoed version that has less HP and less damage over the Evo version, which has 2 10Cs and even a 5-color awake. And this is because the Evo version is not, they're both not devils, so they're not going to be able to benefit from Raffine's damage boost. And the skill on the evolve form is pretty useless in the dungeon because every other unit has guard break, and simply having a orb refresh on a 10-turn cooldown, it's pretty good, considering there's different combinations of spawns that might give you a bad board. So that's why we're running with this unevolved version, which gives us dragon and I think physical typing, which is pretty good, and we don't need to level it up all the way to level 120, which is really nice as well. His assist is the Boar Hat equip, which is simply just a 2-turn Fujin for the early floors, and we only need to use him once, and that's because for the second Fujin we have brought Hamal on our own Raffine, which after we transform her, we can just stall or let her charge as we run the dungeon until we reach floor 11, where we need to use it again. So Boar Hat was chosen because it has pretty good awakenings, and it's also the same color as our Droid Dragon, which will be able to give him extra stats for the team. And it also has a skill boost, which is pretty helpful for getting all the other skills up. Next, we have our Horus, which has a Cloud Resist Awaken, and that's because the entire dungeon basically requires you to have both tape and cloud. So Horus himself will cover the cloud for us, and his equip, Amaterasu's Comb, will cover the tape. And Amaterasu is actually one of the star cards in the team, because you'll notice that the team actually does not have a cleric, which was what Fei Goran was mostly brought for in this dungeon. So bringing Amaterasu, a max skilled one, on Horus brings him to a cooldown of 9 turns, which is more than enough, I think, for the 3 times that we need to use him, which is floor 1 and floor 13, as well as the shield people floor. I forgot which one that was. But basically, Amaterasu is really nice because it gives a haste for the first floor, and it also heals us in case we get the red one, or I think the blue dragon that 99% gravities us. So I think it's a really good add, as well as having the cross away and really nice awakenings too, and just solidifies that slot for us. And again, Horus has the healer typing as well as decent damage, which is why he's on the team. And next we have Aten, which is another stellar card in the team. And originally I was running with Aranave, and for some reason I didn't piece it together that Ranave and Aten are both Godfest exclusives. And in fact, I think Ranave might even be rarer than Aten. So I finally caved, and I was like, okay, like Aten is so good for the team that I had to bench Ranave and use Aten instead. And Aten is probably one of the hardest hitting cards that you'll find on a Raffine team, because he has 3 5-color awakes, as well as a lot of move time, which helps with some later floors that we'll need to kind of fish out colors in order to make our shield. So Aten is really good because he has guard break, he's able to have VDP latent, and he also has a really short unlock skill, which is going to be really crucial for I think the second or floor 12, where we can potentially get Kana or Sheet. So having him will help us unlock that board for us and not die, basically. And his equip is the Susano equip, which is a shield for helping us transform or helping us get through floor 1 a little easier, as well as having a shield for Typhon, which is really dangerous for a lot of teams, as well as for the final boss in case Nohime is not up. So all around, really good equip. Also gives us nice awakens, as well as a cross awakening that will help us clear some blind skyfalls, especially the 6-turn blind skyfalls with a single cross is really nice, and we'll talk about that really soon. For the last sub, Nohime, this, if you've been on the channel for a while, you'll know that I really like to use Nohime simply because her other evolution form is one of the best VDP cards for being a Pantheon, where she has a lot of damage as well as the VDP skill. But this Nohime was brought because she helps us fulfill the water sub attribute, as well as another shield for the boss, and also she's our recovery override. And her skill also is a board change because Joy Dragon is not going to be up by floor 8, so we will use her delay on floor 2, which is her assist, and then we'll use her skill to board change in case we get spawns like Vritra or even Hino who locks the board. So all around, really utility sub. Also great damage with that Tensi awakening, and also gives us that 1 blind resist that we need to get full blind. One more thing about Susanoo equip is the extra finger that he gives us, which allows us more move time to match those hard boards such as Sonya, Yogg, and Lucifer. More of a quality of life change, but then I realized that the team is pretty heavy with the Senri Dragons, so feel free to still use the 5-dra if you don't have enough Senri Dragons. Here I purposely did not one-shot the Sonya because I really wanted to showcase how to match the bicolor board to be able to fish out the combos. And as you see here, I first fished out a light from the majority dark board because it will save time. You also want to try and fish out, you'll see that I fish out grass from the waters, as well as heal and fire from the darks, which are the closest ones. And so that was just in case you couldn't understand the very minimal explanations on the floor guide. A visual representation here might help. On this floor, feel free to use Nohime because this is why we brought her. And I would say this is the hardest floor simply because if you get Orochi or Hino, we'll have to try to one-shot them because they lock the board every turn. For Hino, you can kind of get away with not killing him in 1 turn as long as you have a rainbow on one of the turns, but Orochi will board change us without hearts on every turn and lock it, so we'll have to kill them. And for Hino and Orochi, they both have 20 billion health, so I would match light and maybe water crosses. And for Vritra and Indra, they only have 18 billion health, so just normal match, maybe with the light cross, but they should be killed pretty easily. Here I forgot to properly manage Raffine's active, so I'll have to match through both the turns of spinners. And you can kind of follow what I did here. I basically set up a single combo in the corners and used the other spinners to kind of fish out the colors that I needed. And I would try to prioritize matching all the colors outside of both spinners. I know there's one combo that's going in the corner, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So let's see, I have fire, water, grass, and light. Generally, especially for the next turn, since it goes really fast, try to get those colors. And I think I do manage to match all the colors outside the spinners here, but for this turn, you just gotta make sure that you remember to make an L because of the lock skyfall. I know the Horus seems tempting, but you gotta remember that he's our cleric and not our unlocker. And we also want to save Nohime, especially for spawns like Yogg that will give us a bad board. And have to use them, it's okay. We have up to 5 turns of stall per floor, so it's not the end of the world if you have to use it to live. A pro tip is to not do too much damage on the first turn of this floor because we don't want to hit them into execute range. These spawns have 20 billion HP and they're not god types, so we don't have extra damage from Aten. But yeah, so just 2-shot and life will be pretty free. And then for this floor, we have possibly Aten, Lucifer, and Eshamali. They're all pretty hard in their own way, but thankfully, because we have Jammer Resist, our board for Lucifer is a little bit easier. So for this spawn, he only has 1 billion HP, so we just full match Rainbow, and it should be pretty easy. On Aten, I think if we don't run VDP on the friend Raffine, we'll need to take 2 turns to 1-shot Aten, or to 2-shot Aten, sorry. And yeah, so just plan accordingly and don't try to wait until the last turn to do the damage. I would save 2 turns to hit through his VDP. And again, following the floor guide, we can just use the Homage skill when he hits us, and then use Susano and possibly another active to charge Raffine up if we don't have a rainbow board. And then for Eshamali, I think you can actually just one-shot her with a light cross. Yeah, she's probably the easiest spawn. And then on this floor, now we're gonna use our Hamal that we've been saving up, and this floor only has, I think, 10 billion HP. So yeah, just full match. And on Karen specifically, or Kieran, sorry, we're gonna want to match an L again, because if we don't match an L, the next floor we'll try to L Skyfall, and then we're gonna die. So make sure to match your L's on Kieran floor, and then yeah, it should be free. Now that we use Hamal, feel free to use the Raffine on the left side whenever you need to. And yeah, we did get the spawn that makes a lock Skyfall, so good thing we matched that L. But we also shielded with Nohime, so we would have been fine. You can do that as well. And then here, the reason why we used Aten's assist earlier on the Lucifer floor was because it would be back up by this turn to unlock both Sheet's board as well as Kana's board. And again, we're going to make an L to get rid of the Skyfall. And this floor also is pretty squishy. It only has 12 billion health. So yeah, full match the Rainbow, and yeah, should be pretty okay. And hopefully we've been saving Amaterasu, because we'll need it for the next floor on 2 of the spawns, Kami and Yag. For Kami, we could just unmatch on the first turn and kill her within 2 turns. And for Yag, we can save Amaterasu for the second turn when we hit him under 50, and then kill him on that second turn. And this floor is definitely 2 shots for every single spawn, and thankfully this is the last floor before the bosses. And Morgu is pretty simple. She just changes our HP a little bit and then proceeds to gravity us. And I've actually never gotten Matcha in any of my runs, but theoretically she should be pretty simple as well, because we have leader swap resist, and our team is tanky enough to tank the 1 million damage that she does. So yeah, 2 shots this floor and should be golden. And finally, because I'm a little bit pressed for time, I'll go ahead and cover the last 3 floors at the same time here. For floor 14, you'll see that I stalled the first 4 turns, I think, and then on the last turn when our assists come back, we can go ahead and make 1 Dark Cross to get rid of the Skyfall. And it only has 9.5 billion HP, so making that Dark Cross should ensure that we one-shot it. And then for floor 15, what I like to do is I like to tickle it until it has 50% shield, and then go for the kill. And just a note is to remember to use both Droid Dragon and Nohime on this floor whenever they're up, because we might want to use them on the boss to deal with the 50% move. And then finally, for the last floor, it will be the most time consuming, so I'll go ahead and fast forward that part for you guys. But On 416, the only thing you need to worry about is to heal to full every single turn, which should be one combo of heal and maybe two. I think I mashed 2 heals just to be safe with all the time that I had. And then to make sure to put up a shield, whether it's Susanoo or Nohime, when you hit it to 50. This should be around the 5th or 6th turn. And then have a board change ready, whether that's Nohime or Droid Dragon, on when he does his 50 move. And then you don't have to worry about the execute because it will prioritize increasing attack to the 10 times, and that means that you have around 20 billion, maybe less, to do before he hits back. So yeah, I mean, just look out for that. And what I like to do is I like to make a light cross when that happens to make sure that I can do enough damage. But yeah, the rest of the dungeon should be pretty simple as long as you full match the rainbow. And yeah, good luck on your runs, guys, and I'll see you guys around. Thanks.